Yes, sir. Just a moment. So let Debanjali ma'am join. So we will begin the second session. Welcome back once again. Good morning to the one all present here.
दोस्तों आपको एक आंकड़ों पर लेकर चलते हैं। चाइना, जापान, सऊदी अरेबिया, यहाँ पर भारत का नंबर चौथा है 609 बिलियन डॉलर के साथ।
Someone mic is on.
I have muted Vijay sir's mic is on.
Did Debanjali ma'am joined us? No.
Yes, ma'am, I've joined.
Okay. So let me share the screen.
I think, ma'am, you have joined from your daughter's ID, if I'm not wrong. It's just that your name is not visible.
Yes, we
I
were
don't
checking
know for
that.
some reason.
So welcome back once again. So
Shilpa, ma'am, you have started the recording?
Yes, ma'am, I have
Okay,
done that.
thank you.
I, Shilpa Sethi, on behalf of AISG 46, once again extend a warm welcome to our resource person for this second session, that is Ms. Debanjali Ganguly and Mr. Jatin Arora, for today with the virtual Tulsi sapling. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Shilpa, ma'am.
Ms. Debanjali Ganguly, she is a senior faculty of Amity International School, Noida, who has more than 15 years of teaching experience. She is known for her debating skills and has taken care of various competitive programs. Well, Mr. Jatin Arora, he has teaching experience of more than 10 years. He has received special appreciation certificate from Mr. L.K. Advani, former Deputy PM, for excellent result in senior secondary during 2015-16. So we warmly welcome you, sir and ma'am. Now I request both of you to kindly take over.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I request you to make me presenter.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, with whom ID you have joined, because I can't see your name in that
Okay,
index.
okay,
I
just a
have
minute.
done, ma'am.
Just a
I have
minute.
done.
Okay, done.
Sorry, I have to log out and log in because it's my child's ID. I forgot. Just give me a second.
Okay, ma'am, we have made you the presenter with that ID only, ma'am. So we are here once again to increase our knowledge from resource person. So ma'am is joining. She joined back. So I am making you the presenter, ma'am.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Now you are the presenter. Over to you, ma'am, please.
Thank you, everyone. And such a pleasant morning today. And we have started off with an excellent, enriching session by Poonam ma'am and Venti ma'am. We're indeed privileged to be here today, once again, meet all of you and to enlighten ourselves with our known knowledge and expertise and skills. So me with Jatin sir will introduce her, and sitting here with the blessing of Chairperson ma'am, Dr. Mrs. Samita Chauhan, and Anita Sethia ma'am's blessing and guidance, and with all the principals, guidance and moral support, inspiration, with the excellent organizational skills of Gurgaon 46 Amity, we are once again here to brief you about the actual lead of the students for the pandemic situation. It is just not the studies required only between the books and the syllabus and curriculum. We have understood over the past 1.5 years, what has gone through in and out in the economy and in our lives as well. So we have been blessed to get a particular chance to revive with you the syllabus content and the required elements that are supposed to be studied along with this is the current challenges of the Indian economy. And who knows better than us that we are facing the challenges every day in and out. So let me share my PPT right now. Just tell me if you can see my screen, okay? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Thank you. So this is the topic which we have been told to analyze in the light of the special reference pandemic and the post-pandemic situation. The current challenges the students actually study in the syllabus curriculum made by CBSE and NCERT. We will be highlighting some special issues related to that because over the past 3 months, I have noticed during the university admission procedures, people have framed questions, framed essays and debates and the panel discussions relating to this pandemic situation. And they all know this, everything, the topics which have been taught in the class, they have to relate with that same topic, the pandemic situation. So it is a challenging as well as it's a very creative idea to tell children that now do not limit yourself by studying only the bookish thoughts and all those information that already been there since the past 10 years. So this is an opportunity. I already show my heartfelt gratitude and respect to ma'am. And yes, the current challenges with the current affairs situation is a crisis and it's called pandemic. Before I take my session, I want to tell the need and objectives, and then I will hand over this to Jatin sir, and I will come back with one by one challenges. The need. Now, why we have been given this and why we have designed the entire PDP as per the requirement of the syllabus need of the children. A time to introspect and understand the need of realistic education as per the NEP policy. Realistic education, which enables a child to understand the economy well through the curriculum, not staying limited within the textbooks, understanding the world during challenges and effort to make studies relating to the solution and strategies. So we are going to go with this discussion, solution and strategies. And to understand the motive and the ideas behind this comprehensive admission policies, which I've experiencing day in, day out, because my own daughter is facing it. She's writing essays on all these current challenges and with the view to improve maybe in the post-pandemic situation, how they're affected, how much we're expecting the changes in the current years during the special pandemic situation. And, we need to train and groom our own students catering to this special need, because that is also required in the board preparation. You never know what case studies will come. So it is very important that we sit down and think in the light of the crisis that is happening around us, and then club the meaningful discussions of the current challenges. Thank you. And over to Jatin sir for the case studies. I'll come back with this.
Thank you so much, Devanjali ma'am. First
yes,
of all, at Amity, under the dynamic and multifaceted leadership of our chairperson, Dr. Mrs. Amita Chauhan ma'am, we have learned to embrace all the challenges with positivity and have used it as an opportunity to grow. Keeping abreast with the latest is not an act, but a habit that is deeply infused in each one of us. So the professional development programs are a huge step in this direction. I thank our esteemed chairperson ma'am for encouraging each one of us to learn and grow. Thank you, Anita Sethia ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to interact with my colleagues and share my learning. I also thank my principal, Mrs. Divya Bhatia ma'am, for constantly motivating us to believe in ourselves and aim for the excellence. So this session, I'll be focusing on the case studies, which is becoming the most important part of these days of the question paper. So we have seen the importance of case studies not in 11th class, not in 12th class, even before that in 9th class and 12th class. I know that we know economics of 9th class with the name of village of Palampur. They try to make student understand the concept through the stories. In the 10th class we also teach the various topics based on the case study so that student can relate itself to the real life situation and can understand that this is happening and this is the way that we have to learn. I'll just take a small example from the chapter money and credit from 10th class. They have tried to make student understand the difference between the formal source of credit and informal source of credit, its merits and its demerits. So a very basic case study where you've seen that there are two persons, one is taking loan from the informal sources and constantly he's taking loan and he's getting trapped in the debt trap, whereas there is one person who is taking loan from the formal sources and he's keep on growing because he have to pay less interest on the borrowing. So if we teach these topics just that this is formal source of credit, this is informal source of credit, this is the demerit, these are the merits of taking loan from merit formal and informal sector, I hope the student will not get that exact idea that what we are talking about. But yes, if we introduce the topic with the case study, I think this is the best way to teach the student and to make them more understand what is happening in the economy, what is happening in the practical life situation. So here I'll start with the case studies. So my focus is to understand that what is basically a case study, what kind of questions can be framed from the case study from the viewpoint of the students also. And yes, I have introduced one activity also in which I'll be giving you one case study, and yes, I'll be very happy if you can share your views on that case study and can share your and can give one or two questions on that particular case study. I'll be focusing on that how the case study should introduce to the student, what is the basic idea, and how the case study should be put to the students. So let's begin. I'll share my PPT. Is my PPT visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes.
Thank you. So first, let's understand what is the aim of the case studies. Before understanding what is case study, so case-based question is a way to enhance students' way of learning economics through real life situation, and that is very important. Our subject is very much practical. We don't just teach that these are the things which happen in the past, these are the things which is happening, but we always take the real life situation. Like Devanjali ma'am said, yeah, we all know that how pandemic situation is going on, how it has hampered our economy, and how recession is there in our economy right now, and government is taking various measures to overcome this problem of recession. They are also started investing in the health infrastructure also to minimize the gap between rich and poor. So various measures have been taken by RBI in the past also, and in the present they are also taking various measures. So it is a very good, it will be a very good idea if we teach our students economics through the real life situations, and the case based is the best way to teach them and to enhance their conceptual understanding. So the objective of case-based question is to enhance the students' learning of economics through real life situation. The more you give the practical example, the more the student will connect and more he'll learn, and obviously he'll ask more questions from you also. Because if we discuss the case studies in the class, he goes back to the home, he read various articles available on Facebook or in shorts or from various news sites, and definitely he'll discuss with us. To enhance the students' conceptual understanding and to create the interest among students towards the subject. where we realize sometimes that Indian economic development is becoming monotonous, boring. There we can introduce the case studies, and that is why I think various case studies and interesting facts have been given in NCERT to connect the student to the subject, and they have given us various datas also, and I believe that case studies can be framed for these datas also. So how to prepare student for the case study? First of all, the basic idea, the basic thing is to divide the students into 5 to 6 groups. They frame the group according to the strength of the class into 5 or 6 students. Use the cases from the authentic sources. You can use any economic survey, any human development report, newspapers, magazine. If you want to know my personal suggestion, I always use one app, that is InShots, which is very good app, and it provides us the news on basis on our preferences. You can select your preference. So it is a very good app. You can also use, students can also use. You can also ask your student to visit the website of World Economic Forum, where on the regular basis they post various articles on economics. They take up the economic problem in a very good way, and they present in the form of videos also, so which is very interesting and very useful resource. Then you can provide the case to each group along with the expected date and time, so that they can prepare well for the discussion. They can present the case study. Give each group 10 minutes to discuss the case. Encourage everyone to participate in the group discussion. That is the best way that they can learn economics. Ask each group leader or captain to share the views of the group on the case assigned to them. And last, the teachers and students can also discuss the following suggested sample question in the classroom. I'll be sharing some sample case studies. So I have prepared few sample case studies, one with the answers, which is from the viewpoint of the student, that this kind of case study can be framed and can be given to the student according to their current level. I've also shared a case study which is based on the data, and the sample questions are already there. And in the end, that as I've already talked about, that one case study is for us, that how we can interpret the case study and what kind of questions can be framed from that. I hope this is clear with everyone. So this is my view, that this is the way that we can teach our students how to tackle with the case studies. Let's move to the sample case study, and it is with the question, and I'll be very happy if everybody can participate and answer the question. This is really very basic case study I've taken. It is totally from the viewpoint of the students. So yes, teachers, you can go through the case study, and then I'll be taking some questions. I don't know, this is a basic case study. So in India, most of the people who are suffering from poverty cannot afford to pay for a single meal a day. In addition, they do not get proper healthy and nutritious food, neither medicine nor any other necessary things. The rate of poverty in India is also increasing because of the increase in the urban population. The rural people are migrating to the cities to find better employment. So most of these people find an underpaid job or an activity that pays only for their food. Most importantly, around crores of urban people are below the poverty line, and many of the people are on the borderline of the poverty. Besides, a huge number of people live in low-lying areas or slums. These people are mostly illiterate, and in spite of the efforts of their conditions remain the same, and there is no satisfactory result. I hope everybody has gone through the case study. So teachers, these are the questions for you. Reason assertion question. As Binti ma'am and Poonam Goel ma'am already discussed about the reason assertion question. So I'll be very happy if you can give me the answer or share your views on this question. Yes, ma'am. Any teacher? You can just raise your hand and answer the question. Divya ma'am, if you like to answer this question.
I think the region part, relative poverty is more concerned with the developed nations. Relative poverty, it is also related with our neighbors, next people, the state, the region. So I think the reason, so let's see whether the sentence is true or false. So it is not completely true, the reason part. But the removal of poverty, poverty and unemployment issues are a part of perspective plan. They cannot be a part of, single short-term plan, but it's a long-term planning, say 20 years. And, this, our government had done well, the poverty percentage had gone down definitely, but since the pandemic has struck, it has got worsened. So if we talk about pandemic situation, I think central concern, of course, but it's not the say direct concern, the indirect concern, because the government is coming up with all the poverty alleviation programs, which is also related with unemployment eradication programs. I think central concern is more of cutting down the fiscal deficit path, managing external debt and all. So that way, I think, first of all, it is not the reason. The reason is not correct. The assertion statement, the reason is not correct. So yes, we can discuss in that way.
Archana ma'am, sometimes we have seen that there is always some sort of discrepancies in reason assertion questions. So I'll be very happy if you can guide us that how to assess this reason assertion question, because in teachers we have also seen that sometimes we face discrepancies. We thought that answer is A, that is both assertion and reason are true and reason is also the correct explanation. But sometimes there is a thin line distinction between A and B, which says that both assertion and reason are true, but reason is not the correct explanation. So I'm taking this session. I want to know from you that how we can differentiate between this, whether to choose A or whether to choose B.
Because for students, even if this 1 mark goes, the perfect score gets affected. So for them, and these questions will be there. So I think enough practice to the student. First, let's tell the student that read both the statements completely independent of each other. Like, what is the first sentence saying? What is the second sentence saying? Then analyze whether the first sentence is true or false. The second sentence is true or false. So if it is false, then straight away they cannot be linked to each other. It cannot be, see, if the reason is false, it's a complete false statement. For example, India's health expenditure, which Vinti ma'am and Poonam ma'am had done, it has gone up by 137%. If the statement is it has gone up just by 10%, so obviously the statement is false completely. So if the statement says that the percentage GDP expenditure on education is say 45%, so again a completely wrong sentence. So data-oriented question is very, very easy to analyze whether it is true or false.
Because
so if it is,
I came across, sorry to disturb you, ma'am, I also came across a few questions in the last few days that according to me that answer should be A, but sometimes I feel that answer can be B also. So main concern for the student is I think reason assertion question. That is why we have included some reason assertion questions also in this. So,
CPSC questions will never have any confusion by and large, 99%. So what they will try to do is they will avoid data-oriented assertion reasoning because they are very easy to answer. Data-oriented they will avoid. But yes, sentences like this, what will happen is that students have to analyze first whether it is true or false straight away. If it is false, then of course the C and D options are more relevant. That okay, assertion is true, but reason is false. Or D option, both the sentences are false. Very, very easy to tackle. But if it is A and B, so you have to deal that is it really the true reason for assertion. So for example, if the question says, what do you mean by disoriented economy or disintegrated economy? In chapter 1, we deal with this. So there is a difference, very clear difference between disoriented, disintegrated economy. Then there is lopsided industrial growth. So, the reasons are very direct. Very, very direct reasons. Then if we talk about IPR 1956, licensing, one of the main criticism was that the government was not only using license for using lobbying ministers to obtain the license, but also lobbying that you don't give license to my competitors. So there the reason is very direct. You can make out the sentence. So you have to, so that way the concept should be very clear. What is the reason for which assertion?
we can guide student to go through each and every line of the NCERT. In the nutshell, I can understand this.
That's it.
I would like to add here. I
Yes,
totally agree
Prakash.
with Archana ma'am and Jatin sir. First of all, Jatin sir, completely agreed with your statement that at times even I feel that two options are correct. And you know, actually it depends on the mindset of the student, in which direction the student is, you know, thinking about the concept. Whether the thinking is a liberal or it is towards the financial concept, it depends on the mindset of the student, I guess, in assertion and reasoning questions. Secondly, I also agree with Archana ma'am in a way that in CBSE, whenever we are going to receive a question on any which basis, whether it is a MCQ or assertion reasoning or a fact-based question, then I think they should not be giving any question which has some ambiguity in answering. They must be that must be clear. Okay, the clear differentiation is there, I think. So I totally agree with both of you in both ways. Thank
So
you.
let's check
In
the.
this, I can add one more point. So
Yes,
for
ma'am.
this A and B point, students should go by each and every line in the NCERT. Then the problem will be solved.
True, ma'am. So let's check, ma'am, what is the answer of that question. So answer is B. Archana, ma'am, is it correct? Both assertion and reasons are true, but reason is not the correct explanation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because relative poverty, that but saying that it is dealing with the developed nations. Absolutely.
Okay. So we can frame these kind of questions. These are the basic questions. So which says that official data on poverty is made available to the public by Planning Commission or Ministry of Education. So what can be the possible answer for this? So the official
yes,
data.
it is Planning Commission. It is
Planning.
planning.
Because sometimes I see that student they if they don't go through, so they generally get mixed up with two of the terms, Planning Commission and Ministry of Finance or Ministry of Education, one and the same thing.
And even
I've
if
seen
they have to
this kind
choose
of
from
mistake
two
they are
options,
doing in money and banking also.
even if there are two options, they try to make mistake. So
Yes,
that
ma'am.
requires thorough reading of NCERT.
So economists identify the poor on the basis. I think this is pretty much clear that they always identify on the
Income.
basis of their
Income.
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 Okay. So again, one question I have included which says that in 2011-12 for rural areas, the poverty line was defined as a consumption worth ₹1,000 or 816 rupee per person a month. Though it is not given in the case study, but yes, student can relate and can see the data which is given in the NCERT and answer the question. I think 816 is the correct answer.
Yes, yes. That's right.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And last, the rate of poverty in India is increasing because of the increase in which, again, they can get confused between which kind of population is increasing. The rural sector is increasing or the urban. So again, they can make the mistake, which I think. So can I get some answers? What is the correct answer? Rural or urban? Rural?
The urban poverty is rising. Urban poverty is rising because of the overflow from rural to
Overflow.
urban areas.
Yes. So, ma'am, again, there is a thin line difference, Rachana ma'am, between rural and urban area for this question. That whether the rate of poverty is increasing due to the urban population or due to the rural population or due to the overflow of rural population towards the urban area in search of a good opportunity.
Exact reason is same only, sir. Migration of rural population towards urban population is contributing to the urban poverty, right?
Yeah.
But the rate of poverty is mainly because of rural population.
Yes, I totally agree with this.
Yes.
And
Sir,
some
in third
What I'm
point,
trying to understand and to make my students more comfortable, that what should be the correct answer, because they can also give me the reasons. Sir, urban population is also increasing. No, although it is increasing due to the rural population, the excess of rural population, but how can we write that only the rural population is increasing and not the urban population? How can rural population be the correct answer and not the urban population? So how to identify that thin line difference between rural and urban population? Yes, Archana ma'am.
Yes. What we can tell children that the urban poor is, those who are selling vegetables, the rag pickers and all that. And, the percentage contribution, we all know that is shrinking to GDP from rural sector. And, but our industries, our construction industries or manufacturing, they have not been able to absorb the people who are migrating from rural to urban areas. That is a very, very important thing that we are not able to absorb. And that is resulting in the rise in percentage of poverty.
I totally agree, ma'am.
So the sector is shrinking. The agriculture sector is shrinking because of the migration. People are migrating. But yes, the urban areas also do not have all the solutions to those people. So what will they do?
They don't have much resources to absorb all the migrants from the rural areas. True, ma'am. So here I end my case study, the first case study. So here is the sample case studies. Here's the sample case study that we can.
Excuse me, sir. We are honored to have Anita Setia, ma'am, among us. We welcome you, ma'am, in the session.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I'm enjoying your session. Just go ahead. My best wishes to all of you. Go ahead. I won't interrupt in between.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Here I have included one more case study. That case studies can be also based on the numerical data. It can be from any chapter of the Indian economy, because lots and lots of data is given in our NCERT, especially in poverty, rural development, and in fact infrastructure also, employment also, sustainable development. In fact, in the last chapter where we are comparing the development strategies of India and with the neighboring countries. So these kind of case studies can be also framed on the basis of data. So this is the sample case study. So these are the sample questions which can be framed. I know you can add on more questions to this. I haven't used some answers. So these are some sample questions. For which social group or incidence of the poverty was higher than the national average in rural areas in 1993 and 94? Is a question where students should have the comparing capability. They should know how to compare the data. They should know how to analyze the data. Then only they'll be able to answer these kind of questions. Another question I have included that during just what happened during 1993-94 to 2004-5, which social group in urban area experienced a higher reduction in poverty? Again, we can find the answer from this data only. So various questions can be framed. These are some sample questions. So I'm moving towards the last part of my case studies, the group. This is the activity based case study. So teacher, I request you all to go through this huge case study. It is totally from viewpoint of teachers, and just a second again. Yes, and you can provide one or two questions relating to the same case study. It can be any question. It can be reason assertion question. It can be fill in the blanks. It can be true or false. It can be 1 marker. It can be 3 marker also. So I'm sharing a peer deck link. There you'll be able to answer the questions, and you can read the case from here. Poonam ma'am, I'm facing some kind of technical glitch. Every time I'm moving towards the main window.
Sir, your screen is perfectly visible.
Time to time I'm moving to the main screen of Teams. I don't know why.
Okay, maybe sir, some network issue.
Yes, ma'am.
But we were able to see your screen clearly.
Okay. Now I have unshared right now.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing one link for the peer deck. They will be able to answer the questions. Just a second, it is loading, ma'am.
There is network issues in parts of Noida because of rain.
Yes. Is link visible in the chat window?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's there.
So please go through the case study. I'll again share the window. And I'll be very happy if you can provide 1 or 2 questions on the same case study.
Sir,
So
can
here
you
is the
please
case study.
show the case study?
I have shared the case study.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Requesting everyone to please click on the link.
So this case study is basically based on the current situation which we are going through and the overburdened health infrastructure.
Jatin sir, I'm able to just see the screen of case study. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. I've shared only case study, ma'am. For reading purpose, I've shared the case study. And after that, I'll be sharing the window of peer deck.
Please read the case study, then we'll start this. Otherwise, you will not be able to answer. That's why.
Tejas, shall I unshare and move to the peer deck?
Yes, sir, I think you can move to the peer deck now.
Okay, ma'am. So this is the activity base. So you can post your questions related to the current case study that we have gone through. One question I think will be enough. Or if you want, you can give more questions on the same. So right now I've received 2 responses.
This is because we find children finding impossible to find the answer from the case study, even if they have read thoroughly, but the questions are very vague and irrelevant. So framing the question is the most important part, even when you choose a good piece of literature from the case study. Framing question is very important. So we want you to frame questions over here.
If you want, I can share the case once again. It is on the previous slide only.
Yeah, you can actually share, sir, because people will forget.
Mm-hmm. Is it visible now, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Right now we have received 7 responses. out of 12 participants.
Fantastic. Actually, children should know the meaning of comprehension in case studies. Most of them treat this case studies as comprehension that they receive in literature, English literature. It's not that. We will not give you the directly the comprehensive idea like that we generally find in English studies, English subject of English. No direct answer would be there. They have to find the answer, apprehend the answer. That's the beauty of case study. Our children, this is, you can call a mini research. When they study, you need to know what you are studying. And the answers that are there will be hidden sometimes.
So we are left with only 2 teachers. Devanjali ma'am, we are left with only 2 teachers.
Yes,
so
yes.
Shall I share the responses, ma'am?
Okay, it's fine.
I think
it's just
we are the only one who left, ma'am.
I'm left. I didn't do actually. It's fine. You can just declare now.
Okay. So yes, in which of the following said more than one option is correct? Good. Okay. So yes, very good questions are framed. So I want to add one more thing. If we can name out that who framed the which question.
Yeah, that would be better, please.
Yeah. So whose question is this? The first question, which we can see on the screen.
Sir, I have framed it.
Divya ma'am?
No. I have framed. I have framed.
Name please.
That has
Vinti ma'am.
Yes, miss that typo is.
Okay, Vinti ma'am. Okay.
Vinti ma'am.
And second question, as we are all aware, this one.
Poonam Goyal ma'am has written her name, so it's fine.
Okay, ma'am.
Very good question.
Kind of improvement are required in rural areas in terms of health infrastructure. So assertion health infrastructure has collapsed in India. Very good question, ma'am.
So you are already in the challenges part.
Yeah.
Good.
So name of the teacher, please, for this question.
This is, I think, Poonam ma'am. Poonam Goyal ma'am has written kind of improvements. Okay.
This question,
what kind of improvements?
The reason assertion question.
Who's framed it?
Daisy this side. I have framed this.
Daisy ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. I think it's Daisy ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. Daisy ma'am, I can see that. Yeah.
Is the distribution of healthcare services equal? Yes or no? Good. Who framed this question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. I have done this.
Prakash sir.
Prakash sir. Okay, sir.
Question lists few problems which are faced by people relating to health infrastructure.
That's a very nice question. Who's framed it?
I framed it. Niti Rathore, Devanjali ma'am.
Niti, beautiful question. I think children like this kind of questions to be answered.
Thank you.
How has the pandemic brought forth the inequality? A very good question, ma'am.
Wow, you are actually, Jatin sir, I'm surprised that I'll be covering the entire part. Teachers have already asked questions through that.
Yeah. So who framed this question?
Sir, I have Soumya.
Very good, ma'am.
Very good, Soumya ma'am.
Do you agree that even emerging economies have much lower OP?
Lower OPT than
Yeah. And if you are the health minister of India,
I like this question. If you are the health minister of India, what will be the possible steps taken
by?
Wow, that's a very, very good question. Very, very informative. Like it can be, the creative answers can be there. So that's what I like about this. Who's framed this question? Health Minister?
Me, ma'am.
Utkarsh sir.
Utkarsh sir,
very
fantastic. Very good question. Very good.
Does the government expenditure in healthcare sector needs to be increased? And I think government have heard this question and they have already increased the expenditure over the healthcare sector. So who framed this question?
Sir, I have framed this question.
Sachi ma'am, very good ma'am. How can government help poor people who cannot afford hospital and medical expenses in this pandemic? again a good question, and the main reason for the concern. So how the poor people will tackle with this current pandemic situation, and has the pandemic widened the gap between the haves and have-nots? Also, that more people have gone below the poverty line. Again, a very good question. So can I have the name, please, for the second last and last question?
Yes, Archana. Myself.
Very good question, ma'am. So I think these are the questions which can be framed from this entire PPT. And just a second. Yes. So am I visible? Yes. So in the end, I have Archana ma'am, I've kept one forms which include some reason assertion question just to understand these type of question in a better way and to avoid the discrepancies among the teachers. So I've kept it very short. So I've included only 5 questions. So if you can uh, take the challenge and give the answers. Shall I share?
So here we are sitting today with a lot of challenges. So this could be the first challenge from Jatin sir and 5 more challenges from my side afterwards.
Okay. So I'm sharing the link in the chat window for the forms. So last activity from my side. So I've shared the forms. So kindly tell me if it is working, if this form is accessible.
Yes, it is accessible, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So I have just kept it very short. I have included only 5 questions on reason and assertion, not more than that.
So I want you to share those pie chart after this immediately.
Okay, ma'am. I'll share. And I can see there is one question which justifies the problem of Mudra Yojana also. I've started receiving the responses from the teachers. I think there is some issue in question number 4.
Yes, sir. Fourth question, first option is not applicable.
I have given both the option as same, that both assertion and reason are true and reason is a correct explanation of assertion. I think it should be that a reason is not correct, is not the correct explanation of assertion. But yes, we all know that in this type of questions, the options always remain same. So till now I've received 5 responses. So it is a better way to understand the distinction between the A and B, which is the major problem for the students also, for which we have already discussed. So Debanjali ma'am, shall I share the screen?
Yes, yes, of course, of course.
Although we have received only 6 responses, but yes, we can share for the references that how teachers are tackling with these questions. Just a second. So these are the responses. So we can see that for question number 1, most of the teachers, they have selected A as the answer, in which we can say both assertion and reasons are correct and reason is a correct explanation. And again, we can see the discrepancies between the thinking of the teacher, because two teachers have also selected B option. Yes, again we can see the discrepancies here also, because most of the teachers, they have gone with option A, but there are some teachers, those who have gone with option B, in fact option C also. So this discrepancy I was talking about, that how to overcome this situation. Question number 4, 50-50, because I know both the options are correct, because in both the options I've written by mistake that reason is the correct explanation. So yes, option A is correct. I think all the teachers, they have given the correct answer. And for question number 4, read the following reason, assertion, and this. Again, we have seen, yes, this Archana ma'am, this type of discrepancy I was talking about, where 6 teachers, they have gone with option A, but 5 teachers, they have gone with option B also. So if experts can throw light on this and try to overcome this situation, because students are also facing this problem.
I have actually an enlightenment on this particular thing, Jatin sir, which many of you will agree, I believe. The reason assertion type of question should be very definite in answering, because otherwise it needs an explanation. And we do not give children to explain why you have chosen this. Maybe the logic is correct and they're behind choosing the answer, but they do not have any option. And if CBSE prescribes to choose only the single answer, then it will be a huge issue.
But this question, ma'am, I'll just, sorry to interrupt, but this question is very, very direct, very clear. Absolute clarity is there.
I'm not talking about this particular question.
Only A option can be there.
I know. No, I'm not talking about this question, ma'am. I'm saying what issue was raised during the reasoning and assertion-based question. Sometimes it may so seem that 2 answers are very, very closely correct. So there is a reason to choose any one of them are with the right logic. So what CBSE is planning to give us in that particular scenario, do they change the marking scheme on the spot?
But if we take, you know, Debandi ma'am, if we take on this case basis or case by, if we can have some examples like this, here, you know, it is completely human interference with the environment. The cutting down trees, more metro, more shopping malls. It's all because we are affluent and we are spending so much, so many goods and services. We are demanding, you know, we generally, if you remember our childhood days and our college days, we were not demanding so much, you know. So now more of clothes, more of air conditioners, more mobile. Every year we are changing our mobile devices, resulting in those cancerous rays in the environment piling up on this planet. So this question is absolutely clear and very, very direct, that okay, because of our affluence only, the reason is the wealth is rising, demand for goods and services rising, and we are the reason for the environmental degradation. So if you see CBSE questions like these, they are very direct. I must say there is no doubt in questions like these. But yes, there can be some questions.
There can be, yes. I'm just talking about the possibility, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay, this is right. Okay, then any more question left? The last one?
I think last question. Again, ma'am, yes, again, most of the teachers, they have given the correct answer for this question also. So, yes, sir, here I hand over the session to Devanjali, ma'am. I hope you have liked the activity that we have introduced, including the case-based question and the reason assertion question. And we'll be able to understand the thin line difference between the options and how to overcome this kind of situation also. Yes, ma'am. Over to you,
So much,
Devanjali.
Jatin sir. Actually, we are talking about something serious and the crisis as well. So we need to know what is the crisis and what is the challenge. Challenge can be overcome given right opportunities and the right instruments, policy instruments. But when it is becoming a crisis, then even the policy instruments fail. So how it is failing from every challenges that's concerning Indian economy, we will just see them. Let me share my PPT. So as I told you, the economy facing the pandemic and the post-pandemic situation, along with the current challenges already been there. We are going to go with one by one. Yes, it is a crisis. It is just not the challenge, but the current affairs says it's a crisis situation and it is pandemic. Now, we already told you why there is a need to change and look beyond the syllabus. Because of university program admissions policy, children will be facing essay writing, viva competition, virtual literature writing, and then the debate and panel discussions. As I'm seeing a lot of outgoing board children are facing this, public and private university and college admissions, they are asking questions related to Indian economy, especially during the pandemic situation. And so these were not present in the NCERT or any other textbook so far. Maybe from the next year, they will add some points. But right now, for the current batch, we have to prepare them towards the board and then the university admissions. The challenge number one, the poverty, inequality, rural-urban gap, what happened during the pandemic situation? What do you think? The rural-urban gap, which was already there, been expanded more forever. There's a Business Line journal which says, we'll say, share all the theory journals with you in the chat box soon after this, or maybe in our own team. Lockdown has pushed up India's poverty levels. There's a significant divide in the number of COVID-19 vaccinations between urban and rural India, and the employment loss was higher, contradictory in the urban areas as opposed to the rural areas during the pandemic. Teachers, you would believe that we have a question when we ask children that why there is urban women employment less compared to the rural. This is a very, very common question in the poverty and the employment chapter. But right now we'll be asking them why there was, during the pandemic situation, urban loss of employment was more seen as opposed to the rural areas. I would invite anyone can answer these questions. I'll give the answer after that. Anyone? Actually, I can't see the... Jatin sir, you can just volunteer to accept the invitation to answer the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I cannot see the number of participants screen.
Ma'am, same problem I was facing. Because if
no,
I
that's
over
the
number of participants, it generally disappears.
Okay. Now you can see who was raising the hand or who wants to answer this.
I'll just log in from mobile, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now I can see Prakash sir has raised a hand, ma'am.
Okay, Prakash sir, please go ahead. Why do you think there is an unemployment loss, employment loss more in urban areas as opposed to the rural areas during the pandemic? Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, of course.
Yes. So, ma'am, I think my reason would be, according to my thinking, there are more why was the employment losses higher in urban areas? Because the unorganized sector is employing too many people in urban areas, like a good amount of people in urban areas. And when the economic activity stopped during pandemic, so there was a job cuts.
Okay, then let me add on to this. Then agriculture sector basically acted as a sponge by absorbing the surplus labor from all through these urban areas during the times of COVID-19, which were actually being gradually vacated earlier over the years due to several well-known reasons. But the rate of recovery in the labor market has been comparatively much slower in the case of salary jobs. Whereas in the informal market, the migrant workers, daily wage laborers, youth and women, they become the worst affected. They went and changed their employment to the rural sector and they could at least survive. I questioned, because this was during my own research area, I questioned a lot of migrant workers in Noida who were strangled, and you were there, totally stranded over the roads. They died on streets, and I asked them that why do you want to go back? They said that at least we can do the farming and leave our sustenance level. Here we will die on streets. So that was the reason. That was the reason. Now, who will tell me why there was a significant divide? It's a very easy question. Why there was a significant divide in the number of COVID-19 vaccination between rural and urban? What was the reason?
One of the reason can be availability of digital infrastructure. The people who are having digital infrastructure very easily available, they're able to book their vaccines and they're able to get it.
I totally agree with this point.
Divyanath?
Yeah, ma'am, I totally agree with the Prakash.
Who's this speaking?
Divya ma'am is speaking.
Divya ma'am, please go ahead. Thank you so much.
Yeah, actually, this is the major reason, because there is no infrastructure. Because even I'm hearing about with my people who are working in rural areas, they do not have infrastructure to log in for the vaccination appointments and all those things. So they're having these kinds of situations.
Ma'am, at the same time, we can say there is lack of awareness also.
Yes, too much myths are going around that there is no need going for vaccination.
Yes, so, and there is a community spread of rumors that people believe these are supposed to kill their efficacy of the reproduction system. With some of these notions being absolutely baseless, but you cannot convince them because you cannot reach out to them. That is the point. That is the situation. That's the scary situation. And they covered the 60% of the workforce of the nation. And if they do not get vaccinated, you know what will happen. So I won't say it's all voluntarily, involuntary, but most of the time it is voluntary escape for giving the vaccinations. I give you examples in our society. In urban areas, we are dragging them off and giving them the free vaccination, paying from their own pocket, but this will not be possible in the rural areas. So sometimes we can counsel them, but sometimes we are not able to. So this became the huge health section gap between the rural and urban. And you can imagine what will happen in the post-pandemic situation. When they will seek for the job, they will be disqualified because they are not vaccinated. That's the issue. It is our challenge. We are forgetting to study it in NCERT so far. But after pandemic, I think we should teach children that this has caused the challenge more disastrous. Challenge number 2, problem of human capital formation, the mode of educational gap, methodology, and the access. So far, we have been doing the offline, now the online mode of education, keeping us, enabling us more active, proactive, and prompt. But there is a huge problem. The problem of accessibility. The problem of the infrastructure, the problem of technological gap, the problem that they could just have a computer type of equipment to run their education. Huge problem of making human capital formation in India when education is the basic source of production of human capital. Lack of access to the technical support and the financial crisis. Who is going to analyze how these challenges can be overcome? How these challenges in the coming years can be overcome? Anyone? Anyone just start, because I can't see who is raising the hand.
Just please, yes, Binti Sharma ma'am has raised a hand.
Thank you so much, Binti Sharma ma'am.
Ma'am, I would like to say that all these challenges can be overcome if Skill India development program and all these, like we discussed, Mudra Yojana also, and Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Skill India program, all these, if they are implemented at war footing, that is not just in the namesake, if they are really implemented,
yes,
then they
ma'am,
improving the quality of higher education.
Yes,
yes,
I the quality of higher education.
Yes,
that also will play a big role. That is
now my question is, suppose a question comes in the board exam. What is the crisis in the problem of, what is the crisis? I'm not asking of the problem. Problem will be always there. Central problem we learn. What is the crisis that is generated in the problem of human capital formation, especially during the pandemic situation? This is crucially related to the health sector and to the education sector. Let's come for the education sector first. Now, what is the gap and how it can be solved? An 18-year-old child in rural area, how he is today different and absolutely different from an 18-year-old child living and surviving in an urban area.
Yes, that is, many children are poor, so they don't have these facilities that we have, the internet, the PC, many of them are just able to lay a hand on maybe phone from someone. So it's basically the resources, the lack of resources with those poor children. And
resources gap is there. Rural area, there is less resources as compared to urban areas. And technical know-how is not there. The parents are not literate. So these are the major problems in this case.
So this is a huge crisis.
Not only with the students, but also with the school and the college infrastructure.
Correct. This is the right point, Archana ma'am, because the schools are shut down. Literally, the schools are facing trouble to open it because they do not know how to give access to the teachers, give access to the students, how to conduct the examination, what is the entire software skills related, it should be known by everyone related to the education field. They have no training, they have no skill development. So it is very important for government of India in the current pandemic situation, the same batchmate of a student like sitting in an urban area and a rural area, they're actually having a year-long gap, academic gap. They are having an academic gap due to this problem, and this will be aggravated in the coming years as well if it is not taken some stringent action policy, some stringent, through Doordarshan, there was some, I think the implementation was, planning was going on to run the programs of educative, kind of education, basic, elementary and the primary level through the Doordarshan channels, which is available. Even when the child doesn't have the internet connection at home, can at least basic maths, basic English and basic Hindi or national language, they can study through the Doordarshan channels. But then also it failed because the programming, the entire programming system. Yes, somebody wants to add something?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to share one recent news about the enrollment ratio in Haryana. So recently, ma'am, Education Department has shared this data that this year, 12.5 lakh students have not registered for their education, the primary level education.
Dropouts.
So,
a lot of dropouts.
So there has been an increase in the dropout ratio because of the pandemic. Parents have lost job or they have migrated to somewhere. So I think we will be able to know in later years what all problems are happening.
Correct.
So this is really a very critical situation.
Yes, ma'am. And this is the problem, and the crisis out of this problem is more severe. just the problems that we have understood so far in our syllabus oriented curriculum, where we studied that children will read these things which were the main problems of human capital formation. Now we need to add on those: lack of infrastructure, online mode of education, and this is going to be continued for the next several years. We can't say that this pandemic will, it finishes in the next 6 months. We thought it last year should be. We don't know what will be expected in the current 6 months, and then the next year board and next year board, and how many educational batch, how many academic batch will have to sacrifice and face this situation. So the first one was a big lesson, hard lesson, but the second one, we need to have the recovery stage, and the third one, we have to have the replenishment stage. And the challenge number 3, here we are. Unemployment, a chapter of unemployment as a current challenge in the NCERT and in the CBSE guideline. We never thought of this vulnerability and distress of migrant workers. See this. I myself had interviewed them. I went on streets to find, in front of my eyes, I've seen people are dying on streets. They are denied of medical facilities, even water. Nobody's coming close to them. They don't have masks even. They don't have masks. They are just, you can see how they're covering their faces. They have no mask. They have no sanitization process. We have seen 1,000 crores, millions of people were standing in the borders of Maharashtra, Haryana, Delhi, and this side of Kerala side and the south border also. They're flooded with migrant workers. They were trying to go back to the home because there was no. We have a very, very defective migration policy. No safe home for the workers, no, and the huge issue with the rehabilitations and the low backup system, uncertainty for the most dreadful backbone of urban development, that is the migrant workers. So teachers, I request you to teach this part. They have seen this, they have read through the newspapers, the Business Journal, the Business Line, India Today, Economic Times. Now they are their textbooks. Tell them to look beyond the textbooks, because the questions can come, the case studies can come from anywhere. Tell them to read the bills at ease. It doesn't matter what we study now from the book. These challenges are now overwhelmed. The challenges are now made with a crisis of pandemic situation. So we need to teach our children like that. There is no point studying only the preconceived ideas. So defective, what was the migration policies? What are the loopholes of those migration policies? Why there is no safe home for the workers? What about the children of these migrant workers? Now, why we cannot rehabilitate? When we know that they are the backbone of urban development, why can't we rehabilitate them? Why they're forced to go back home? And this way, there was no communication, there was no food, there was no medical benefit. Don't you think this is a big challenge? Many of them died on streets, and when they come back without vaccination, what will be the second? That will be the second round of vulnerability and distress that people will observe. So this is called the reverse migration. Tell them about the reverse migration. They all know about the migration, but they do not know about the reverse migration. Reverse migration is a very negative idea. And when they do not have their establishment in the city, they come for a better, comfortable quality of life, but they do not get it. And their vulnerability increases, and they go back. There is also the rural employment. Yes, though there was agricultural field, but not everyone are having a piece of their own land. So the vulnerability occurs there too. Again, agriculture is flooded. So who will tell me, who can give me a possible solution for the better rehabilitation of this migrant workers post-pandemic situation? I have some idea I will share once you just express your views. Thank you.
Teachers, you can raise your hand.
I have an idea, but
of course your idea will work.
Devanjali ma'am, the idea is to give them employment in cottage industries. If we can give them around their villages, that would be better. Otherwise, again, there will be an influx to metros. So it would be better if the employment is given locally to keep them employed in non-farm activities, diversified activities. This is the time to really encourage these diversified cottage industries, so that because urban areas is also not heaven for them. Here also they are living in slums, not very good conditions. So why not again the village can become a center of development. Here rural development will play a very big role. Diversified activities.
Yes, Devanjali
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am,
one
completely agree.
suggestion can be there. That,
Sure, please add.
As Binti ma'am just told, that diversified activities we can employ more number of people. Similarly, like infrastructural projects can be taken up in these village areas also, where we can employ more number of people. Like we are working upon the various kind of social infrastructure activities as well as health infrastructure in the rural areas as well. So these people can be placed or can be provided with the employment opportunities.
Absolutely fine. So what you're talking about is basically the decentralization policies.
Yes,
Decentralization
ma'am,
policies. Yes.
I would like to add more things here. I think no government can provide employment to the people. The job of the government is to provide good education, better standard of living, and good health facilities.
Right.
And employment will be automatically created if we are going to develop the human capital and skill centers in the country. So I think government should develop the skill centers, the registered organization through which these workers can be
Prakash,
helped.
who's this? Prakash sir.
Yes.
Prakash sir, see, we are talking, we'll be talking about the human capital formation issues and problems, but right now we are in the situation of the current migrant workers. So now they cannot be educated. The point is how to decentralize. They should not come to centralize, the Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi, NCR, Mumbai, Maharashtra, Nagpur, Kerala. They're the 6-7 center zone, the fire zone of migrant people, we call them, and that should be decentralized. That should be like, making more of SEZs, making more of, we have a topic in the NCERT called informalization of the labor force. Now we need formalization of labor force in the rural area. Now the need for coming to those particular center of urban development will be minimized if we try the policy of decentralization. Decentralization means you can spread over the technological and the skill development background can be created to that extent. Even if they are, I've seen workers, they might be illiterate, but they can be hands-on experience, training can be there. So those programs can be initiated, and those programs can be initiated from government and non-government organizations as well, and government can promote them. That is the idea, can be established with the existing problem को हम कैसे solve करेंगे. Here we have to give the solution to the existing problem. Now these people are like, maybe 40-50 years old. How they can study now? How can they get trained on a software based skills or something like that? It's not possible. So now, right now, what is our target? Our target is a planning decentralization of the workforce, so that everywhere they study, anywhere they say, the situations will give them the opportunity to earn something. Otherwise, this will happen every year. You will see this every year. Any type of pandemic situation occurs, and pandemic is not going anyway. It's a second wave, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave. It will keep coming. And we need to get vaccinated as per WHO after every 8 months. And we all know that. So this program should be, it's a bio war. It's not going to end very soon. And if it's going to end soon and something else will come up. So we need to be mentally fit to understand that we were not getting back the previous situations any further. So these programs should be in the mind. Children should also understand the vulnerability, distress, and this cannot continue for long. The entire economy will collapse because we need to protect them. Anybody was saying something? Sorry, I just missed. Somebody was saying something? Okay, we come to the challenge 4. Failure of health infrastructure. How? In spite of having so much great innovations, we are having the failure of health infrastructure. We have not done enough research and development that could generate one-shot authenticity and accessibility to the world compared to the Pfizer vaccines. Now, this has become a big debate. What is the debate? How India failed to prevent a deadly second wave of pandemic. I'll ask these questions, open forum. Why COVID vaccine producer India faces major shortage of doses? Children must know these reasons because they can come in case studies. They will come in case studies. Case studies, please tell them, case studies will never come from the book. Case studies will come from here. And these questions, there are 10, 12 questions related to all the current challenges that I've discussed today, will be given in the chat box very soon. Now, issue with WHO authentication and reliability, I want all of you to teach them the reason, and for which I'll give you the links for the articles, very, very authentic articles. Now, first, how India failed to prevent a deadly second wave of pandemic. Who's going to answer this? What was the primary reason? Yes, Jatin sir, please check who is raising the hand. Excuse me, can't see. Jatin sir, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes.
So please,
you know what, this second wave, if we remember, if we recall, the government itself was busy doing elections in Kolkata, the rallies, and we never believed that it will happen again. Because,
yes.
And then we thought, okay, we are also good with immune system, and then but there were warnings from the government only, from the
Maharashtra government, yes.
They had this warning.
Kumbh Mela, Haridwar, Kumbh Mela and all.
Yes, and the warning is there for the third wave also the next week, but still you can see all the markets flooded up with the people without mask, no the social distancing.
Yes.
So yes, this sensitization should be there. Otherwise, we
I
have
just give you a before, ma'am, fully agreeing with you. I give you the exact data at the end of February 28th. What happened? India's election authorities announced the key election in 5 states. In 186 million people were eligible to vote for 824 seats. Beginning 27 March, the polls will stretch over a month, and in that case, in state of West Bengal, to be held in 8 phases. Can you even imagine? The ones which is done normally in one day. Phase of election, one phase of election. It had happened in 8 phases. So campaigning had begun in full swing with no safety protocols, social distancing, nothing. And in mid-March, Cricket Board allowed more than 130,000 fans, mostly unmasked, to watch 2 international cricket games between India and England at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Gujarat. How about that? It's funny. Then, in less than a month, things began to unravel. India was in a grip of devastating second wave. The virus and cities were facing fresh lockdowns again and again, and country was averaging more than 1 lakh cases per day, and it in no sooner less than 3 weeks, it rose up to 4 lakhs cases. That is deadly. Imagine. The runaway infections were not checked, nothing was checked, and aggravated by the Kumbh Mela in Haridwar too. So it was a public health emergency in India.
Even farmers,
ambulances, deaths, and in shamshans, and where there was no place to burn, burning ghats were totally full. India and we have all experienced a massacre in the entire century. Probably in our lifetime, we have experienced this. So that was the reason. Children must know, they must gather knowledge from newspapers, cutouts, and study hard, because this is what they experienced. It's a lifetime. Now, second question of mine. Why COVID vaccine producer India faces the major shortage of doses? Why? What was the reason? And why? What was the issue with the WHO authentication? Why they didn't give? Why Covaxin, the Bharat, why this Covaxin was rejected in the development?
Very genuine question, and very sad situation in our country because of the lack of the political will.
Correct.
The way the opposition was criticizing, you remember, Samajwadi Party, Akhilesh Yadav.
Yeah.
We'll do it in our why in BJP times and the vaccine. So when nobody was going for it, the government started exporting because the life shell is very short for these doses. So government started exporting it. So the point is, it was the lack of political will. It was a lot of criticism from the opposition parties. So the people also realized, okay, there must be some problem. They also started questioning the efficacy, this thing.
Yes,
of the
because
doses.
that is
So
COVID
very sad situation.
Yeah, it faced this criticism because for not sharing its phase 3 trial data, ma'am. That is very important. I mean, without having that approved, India's drug regulatory authority have approved, but still WHO rejected. US has rejected Covaxin because it did not give its sharing report of the phase 3 trial data. It is very important because Pfizer had gone through this, and the entire next to our countries in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and now they're also rejecting Covaxin because now the situation is like that. Even when you have your research and development, it needs an authentication and reliability. If I am taking the Covishield, my next door neighbor is taking Covaxin, I'm also raising my eyebrows. Now that is the reality. Now what then? The lakhs and crores of rupees are spent on the research and development for Covaxin as well. Now what is the use then? So we need to face this challenge. We need to cover up the crisis relating to this particular challenge. Thank you so much for participating. I want more participation. Challenge number 5. Securing the sustainable development through the increasing carrying capacity of the nature along with growth. We cannot blame the economic growth. All the developed countries are having economic growth. Instead, they are still having the powerful environmental support. How is it possible? Because of the SDG goals that they understand very well. 17 goals to transform our world. The quality education, quality drinking water, and the gender equality, reduced inequalities, industry noise, and all those things. Like, life in the marine life, in the forest life, everywhere. We have to work all round for the SDG, but we did not follow this. We did not follow this, and many countries have failed to follow. So there should be, there's a crime control thing. So we cannot blame the economic growth to lose our environment. In fact, in the current challenge of pandemic situation, we have seen the betterment of air quality index, but at the same time, there was a problem. Who will highlight the problem? Poonam ma'am, you are talking to me the other day, we were discussing. Tell me the problem of those environmental impacts of COVID-19, especially in India.
Debanjali ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. Ma'am, we have posted the link for the feedback.
No problem. So yes, okay. I'll just take 5 minutes more. It's done.
Teachers can, in the meanwhile, can fill the form. So you have to fill the form twice. One for Debanjali ma'am and one for me.
Okay. Yeah, they told me, yes.
Yes, Devanjali ma'am, I feel the biggest challenge which will come in during these times related to this sustainable goals would be the disposal of these masks and all, because it is going to be it is going to generate a lot of non-biodegradable waste kind of a thing. Right, so it is going to be a huge challenge to manage all these syringes and mask kind of a thing, and definitely some certain problems will be emerging in the coming times related to this.
See, the pandemic has caused a huge global socio-economic disruption. Okay, so what do you mean by socio-economic disruption? Which directly, indirectly affect the environment, like improvement of the air and water quality, but the reduction of noise, definitely the restoration of ecology, the animals are better, they are happy. But the increased use of personal protective equipment. It's given by WHO, PPE kit. We all know that. Personal protective equipment kit. That is what? Face mask, hand gloves, gowns, goggles, face shield, they're all plastics. They're all plastics and they're haphazard, disposable, they're one-time uses. Creates the environmental burden. Oxford University Press report I'm reading. In these circumstances, the study intended to explore the positive as well as the negative environmental consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic and propose possible strategies as the future guideline for the environmental sustainability. Green Globe strategy as a matter of solution. This is the UNESCO's latest formula for the world to recover from the post-pandemic situation, and environment should increase, and how they're going to do it together simultaneously. That's called the Green Globe strategy. We always know that there is a trade-off between economic growth and sustainable development because there's an opportunity cost. Now, how many of you know about the carbon credit? Raise your hand. Sir, please identify who's raising the hand. What do you mean by the carbon credit? Anyone, please volunteer. Tell me the meaning of carbon credit.
You know, the efforts taken by the government to reduce the harmful gases emission. So which country is doing better? I think it refers to that only.
We are giving a huge carbon credit, Archana ma'am, to the companies in India. Tata Consultancy Service, TCS, has the highest carbon credit for reducing the carbon footprint.
Yes,
yes. So the carbon credit, like I know Amity is also doing it, because we have also not used the plastics for so far in our all campuses. We have banned it. We have started doing the gifting the plants everywhere, and this is not a small job. We are concentrating more on the heritage planting. We are concentrating more on the heritage pottery and the handicraft systems. And we have been doing it for the last 15 years, even without knowing that pandemic type of situation will hit. So we are more to the carbon credit and restoration of forest areas and animals. Every company, every organization should have their own green concept of restoration forest areas and animals, because they must protect. And that is how they earn the carbon credit. They are reduced with their tax systems. Thank you so much for contributing. I think these are the challenges are facing. The Indian economy is facing, along with the existing challenges as well. So we must teach our children that the case studies can come from anywhere. So go through this literature, articles, and the topics that we have discussed in the current challenges of Indian economy. Today's topic was special reference to the pandemic situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dipanjali ma'am. We would like to express our gratitude to Ms. Dipanjali and Mr. Jatin Arora for sparing time and expertise to enhance our proficiency in the online mode of dissemination of knowledge, and for making valuable addition to teaching pedagogy of the Amity institutions. I also want to thank you all for joining us today in this professional development program and for making it so successful. It has been a wonderful evocation session, and we have all learned new things that we could assimilate in our teaching. Thank you, Jatin sir. Thank you, Dipanjali ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks a lot, Jatin sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Everyone present here, Divyanath ma'am, everyone.
Thank you everyone for providing their valuable inputs.
Thank you, Jatin sir.
I would really appreciate if we all can come on camera one more time, because after this we'll be joining the common session.
Yeah, after half an hour, no?
Thank you, Divya ma'am. Yeah, after half an hour, then that is a common session that will be taken by Principal ma'am, Ms. Aarti Chopra.
Okay.
So we'll be meeting there then.
The session was quite fruitful, ma'am.
It's very interesting, informative.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Sachin sir. Thank you, Devanjali ma'am, for a wonderful session.
Thank you, Niti ma'am. That's really an encouragement.
Please, all of us join on camera so we can have a group photograph.
Ma'am, you can switch on the large